For many of us, we often hear about software engineering as being the path into tech and the end-all be-all for careers leading into tech. And that's mostly true for good reason. Most people do get their entry into tech through software engineering because there are the most opportunities, different types of roles, and companies hiring for software engineers. However, I know product management, or PM, has also become pretty popular in recent years, especially at the new grad level. So I want to cover the differences between these two and also how to decide which one is the better path for you. Hi, I'm Laura, a PM working in tech, and on my channel I cover my life working as a PM, my life working in tech, and other computer science related advice. While I won't dive into all of the nitty-gritties here, I hope that this video at least encourages you to do a little bit more exploration and find out which path is going to be the best fit for you. Let's start with software engineering. What is it, what will you be doing, and what kind of skills are going to be helpful if you want to thrive as a software engineer? Software engineering as the job is a pretty general catch-all term for a lot of different things that you could be doing. But the vast majority of software engineering roles is going to boil down to a deep technical understanding and coding to solve problems. Contrary to popular belief and what your understanding of a software engineer is, you're actually not really spending 8 hours a day staring at your laptop and just trying to hammer away at code and hoping that it works by the end of the day. There's probably a handful of meetings that will help scatter up your day as well, and a lot of time spent just trying to figure things out rather than concretely programming and coding out a solution. You'll also probably be in charge of software design as well, which isn't as heavily explored when you're a student. And when you get to be a software engineer, that's really when the gears sort of start to kick in terms of understanding architecture and system design and other things that may be relevant to the software that you're working on. So what can you reasonably expect if you're going to be a new grad software engineer? Well, you're probably going to be spending the first couple of weeks just solely on getting permissions to the right resources and also making sure that your development environment is set up properly and that you're able to access all these things that you did get permissions for. Once that's all said and done and you have your environment set up, then you're probably going to be also assigned your first couple of software bugs and whittling away at those to get a sense of your chops and also familiarity with your software/product. These are often going to be pretty easy bugs, but low impact as well, so they've been passed by or not really bothered to be fixed by other members of the team. As you start to get more comfortable with the resources, the product, the coding style, the language, and what have you, you probably start to level up a little bit. Rather than working on small product bugs, your next step up is probably going to be working on a small feature or contributing to a small part of a larger feature that another engineer, particularly a senior engineer, is probably already in charge of and guiding the project for. You may also start to gain ownership or become a small subject matter expert in a particular feature for your product. Now that I've covered the day-to-day, what about the skills? As with most jobs, learning is going to be the most important and crucial aspect of working in tech, so I'd say that this generally covers the software engineer and PM side and also plenty of other disciplines. Generally speaking, working in tech, eagerness to learn is a huge and very important factor in how well you'll do. Tech is just constantly changing and revolving around what's the next big thing, and people are always making bets and learning to make sure that they are on top of the next emerging technology. In fact, for software engineering, there's probably a whole host of compliance-related issues you never had to care about or really consider when completing your homework assignments. This can range from a whole host of security-related policies or new vulnerabilities that may have been discovered in your software to accessibility audits. Just not really things you had to know or care about when writing your first tic-tac-toe program. I think the second important thing for being a software engineer is really a propensity for the details and diving in on the technicalities of those details. Your product manager will probably give you a pretty decent story around what this new feature is, what they want implemented, and the overall functionality that comes with it. However, there's probably going to be at least one thing unanswered, and it's going to be up to you to make sure that you figure out the details and work with the appropriate parties to get that resolution. Also, your product manager will probably often come to you and ask questions around what's feasible and what a potential solution could look like. While no one certainly expects you to have all the answers, especially as a new grad, it is good to get in the mindset of figuring these things out and what the technical limitations are for your product that you can currently see. Third and lastly, I think a good skill to have as a software engineer is being able to enjoy being on one project and focusing on that project for a stretch of time. Within your day-to-day, you're probably going to have a good chunk of focus time, and you can use that to really dive in and not have to deal with context switching. Do remember though, as a new grad, you'll probably be placed on smaller features that often can be completed within a week or two, so you shouldn't be spending months and months on end on a project without at least getting some sort of help, feedback, or guidance on what needs to get done and what might be missing from the project. Compare this to product management. Even if you're in charge of a single feature and implementation, you're often bounced between different conversations, meeting with customers, and other things that may be going on relevant to the product, generally speaking, that you want to be a part of and have a voice or say in. Okay, so enough about software engineering. What's product management and why is it so hard to break into? Just to clarify, whenever I do say PM, I am referring to product management, not program or project management. These are entirely different roles, and I have a separate video kind of explaining the differences if you're interested. Now, for product management, for every 5 to 10 software engineers, you're going to have 1 PM. Even though medium and larger tech companies do have the ability to support product managers, the number of roles they have open is just incredibly limited because of the ratio. A single software engineer can only do so much work, so it doesn't really make sense to have a 1-to-1 ratio between software engineer to PM, and so it really requires that larger ratio to make the most use out of a PM and just simply hiring a new person to do this job. Also, scoping this down to the new grad level, it gets even harder because most PM roles are aimed at more senior candidates rather than someone just fresh out of school, because you don't have a lot of experience relevant to product, and it's not really like there's a good school program covering the ins and outs of product management to make you an extremely attractive candidate over someone who may be a little bit more senior. Well, PMs are going to define the prioritization of features for the product that software engineers work on through data analysis, customer interviews, hypothesis testing, and generally understanding the value of a feature over another one. PMs collaborate often with other PMs on the team, the design team, and often software engineers as well, just to get everyone's opinion and understand the technical feasibility and limits of the product. This helps PMs get the full scope of what the potential picture looks like, and also to fill in any gaps in their knowledge that they may have missed prior to talking with everyone. And you as a PM bring everything together through knowledge of the product and also your interactions with users and data analysis as well. So what kind of skills are going to be important if you want to be a good PM? First, I think it's really important to understand that the vast majority of your time is going to be taken up working with other people and/or in meetings. As a product manager, collaboration really is the name of the game, and you also do need to spend a lot of time just gathering information and understanding context around what the next step should be, and other stakeholders who may have any relevant information surrounding what you want to do. You'll also probably spend a lot of time understanding metrics and learning what's crucial and important for the business, and how you can really define success for the next features that you're rolling out. As such, a second very important skill is keeping on top of everything that's going on, and also being able to jump and switch context between different things on a quick basis. As a PM, you're going to spend a lot of time collaborating with people, so asynchronous chats or meetings are kind of going to be your best friend. But this also results in scattering your calendar and making it hard to find dedicated focus time. So being able to stay organized and understand all the things that you have to do in a day or in a week or even in a quarter is going to be super helpful, and help you basically retain your sanity and understand all the different things that are being asked of you and how you can contribute in each of these areas. The third, and also the hardest thing that I've had to come to terms with recently, is that you are the decision maker for a lot of things at the end of the day, because you're the one that's done the research, done the background work, and understand that full picture that other people may not have. You're going to be asked how you want to do something, how to prioritize, or what metrics should be tracked, and these are things that you should prepare for and have the answers for. I know it can be really intimidating as a new grad though to be asked these questions and to be expected to run the whole thing. You should hopefully have a lot of support from your manager and your team as well to back you up in case you don't have all the answers. But the more that you can prepare and the more that you understand what's being requested of you, the better off you'll be and the quicker you'll find your feet. So what about when it comes time to pick one or the other? Here are 3 additional considerations. First is that it's easier to switch from software engineering to PM than it is the other way around. Not that one set of skills translates better than the other, because the Venn diagram doesn't have a whole lot of overlap. I still think that it's going to be a lot easier to pick up the PM knowledge than it is to pick up the years and years of coding knowledge that you might have missed out on or just not be familiar with as a result from spending so much time on the non-technical side. As a product manager, I really don't spend any of my day coding, and the most programming that I do is just data analysis and SQL-like work. 2 is that it's easier to land a software engineering role than it is to land a product manager role in most cases. When I was interviewing for PM roles, I still kept applying for software engineering roles because there were just so many more openings in software engineering than there were in PM that it was going to be more likely I landed a software engineering role than it was that I landed a product management role in the end. I think there's just more willingness also to hire software engineers at the new grad level than there is product management, because I know in the past that a long career and tenure in software engineering was a prerequisite to be considered a good PM, or that you also needed an MBA to be an eligible PM candidate. The third and last consideration is to take your time and talk to as many software engineers or PMs as you can to get their perspective on what their day-to-day looks like, what they recommend, and if they think you'd be a good fit for either of their roles. Share what you're interested in, ask tailored questions about your strengths and weaknesses, and see how that fits into both the roles of a software engineer and the roles of a product management. Often you find yourself gravitating towards one or the other, and this can act as a confirmation bias to help you figure out which one you're really attracted to, or which one that you're kind of just met about at the end. I think the product management role is still just kind of squishy, so what you do at one company can be different from the other, and getting a wide variety of opinions never hurts. That's a brief kicker on software engineering versus PM and what might be the right fit for you. Please let me know if you have any other questions or join the conversation on my Discord channel, linked in the description box down below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week for a brand new video.